spring front with a half twist. Tracy Talavera's vault in the preliminary round should have received a 9.7 instead of the 9.8 she was given. Thus, Tracy should have been out, Gina should have been in. And instead, the meet officials have ruled that all 3 Americans will now move into the finals. So Gina Stallone has qualified, and she'll be competing here today and providing expert commentary, as always, for us on women's gymnastics, is former champion Kathy Rigby. Kathy, what does it mean to somebody like Gina, who thought she was finished as far as the competition was concerned, and now all of a sudden she's right back in it?
Well, Gina's extremely excited. In fact, she called home last night after she found out, told her parents, and I think it has to be very, very exciting for her right now and a good opportunity for her to win this competition. She went home last night, went to a Broadway show, came back and found out not only had she qualified, but she qualified second for the Americans. The one it could be a little detrimental to is Tracy Talavera. She didn't have a real good competition yesterday, so we'll have to see what happens there. The favorite for this competition is Julianne McNamara, and I think the thing to look for with her is not only her extreme difficulty, but her incredible technique as well.
But Julianne will have to come from behind because the women have already completed one event, the vault, and McNamara is currently 5th. Our coverage today will alternate between the men's and women's competition, and right now the women move to the uneven bars. Tang Shou Li of China, her uneven bars mount, tied for 3rd currently.
Start with a kip half twist to a handstand full twist, with another 1.5 twist there, kip to the high bar. The thing the judges are looking for is extra risk and originality, and it's especially evident on her dismount, although she's having a lot of trouble right here and kind of having to start over again. She's moving, but those intermediate moves are going to cost her a few tenths of a point. She looks a little confused right now. She's repeating some of the same moves. And a heck back, that will give her some extra risk score.
A nice dismount, but otherwise a quite tentative routine for Tang Shou Li of China.
And on this dismount, not only does she have to get enough height for the rotation, but she also has to get away from that high bar. There she goes. Good landing. Excellent hecht with a back dismount.
And for Tang Shou Li of China, a 9.45.
This is where I bring in...
Here's Tracy Talavera mounting the uneven bars. The leader after the vault. She scored a 9.70 there.
She has an extremely difficult bar routine. She has one very superior difficult right into another. Change grip there to a front stalter. Full twist. She made it yesterday. She had trouble on that particular move. Beautifully done so far. Toe on. Full twisting Comanche. Very nice exercise.
Well, halfway through the 4 events now for Tracy, the American Cup champion in 1980. Very good beginning.
She really is coming on strong. In the middle of her bar routine here, she does one of the most difficult moves. Full pirouette right on the high bar. Timing is so critical there. Right into her dismount. Clear hip to a handstand. Both feet on in a pike position. She gets good height and makes a full twist with a solid landing.
And a good mark for Tracy. 9.80 is her score, giving her a 2-event total of 19.50.
You know, Al, next up is Julianne, and not only is she defending American Cup champion, but she was the bronze medalist at the World Championships on this apparatus.
Some pressure here now on Julianne McNamara in 5th place after the vault, and Tracy Talavera looking good in this event. Julianne has to.
Julianne, this is her best event. She does a beautiful straddle back over the bar there. Her mount was excellent. It was named after her. She was the first one to do it. Kip to the high bar. If she's not a contender for the medal in 84, I don't know who is. Beautifully done so far. Front with a half. Excellently swinging. Very nicely done. Lots of risk and originality.
Well, this is the type of meet where one bad routine can kill you. But Julianne able to respond to the pressure and turning in a beauty here.
You can really see the strength she has on this beginning. Right up to the handstand she shoots. Very difficult. Makes the pirouette in the handstand right on top. Look at these joints. There's hardly any arch in the back at all. She changes grip. Good routine.
And a 9.90, a near perfect score for Julianne, putting her 15/100ths of a point behind Talavera.
And the exciting thing about Julianne is that she's consistently strong.
Zoya Goncharova now of Bulgaria. She is tied for 3rd. This is an important event, Kathy, because her real strength of 4X is still to come.
And that's a very interesting move she just did. It's extra risk and originality there. She's moving quite well. Very strong gymnast and tight body, and on the uneven bars, that's very important. Bent knees there slightly, trying to get as much height in that as she could. Corbett dismount off the high bar.
should stay in contention. And as just mentioned, the floor X yet to come for Zoya.
Now watch this. She does a stomach whip. She does an immediate straddle vault over the high bar and catches in an equal position, a blind move, and then immediately straddle back over the low bar.
Roncharova's score is a 9.65. And so after two events, Talavera leads. McNamara is second. Roncharova is third. And the third American, Gina Stallone, is fifth. We'll take a look at the men next.
When you're just starting out, you don't have a lot of extra money for insurance. So Aetna has a whole life policy that starts you out for as little as term.
First look at the men now as the American Cup competition continues at Madison Square Garden in New York, and providing the expert commentary is the greatest gymnast in American history, Kurt Thomas. Kurt, put this meet in perspective and sum up what it means as far as international competition is concerned.
Al, this is probably the most prestigious international invitational there is, and I know it's one of the largest. This competition to me was everything because of the amount of exposure you get, the amount of international prestige, and to have two Americans right up top, number one and number two. Peter Vidmar yesterday going into this competition, number one, it's his first American Cup, and Bart Conner, the defending American Cup champion. I think that's tremendous, and I think we're going to see another American winner.
For the moment, however, it is the Soviet gymnast Alexander Pogorelov who leads. Joe Lehman of China second. Vidmar is third. Bart Conner of the United States is fourth. One event completed, the floor exercise, and here is how Pogorelov took the lead.
And he really put in a super performance here. This is a portion of his routine where he broke into the flare on floor. He was really high and had a lot of strength in his upper body.
And his mark was a 9.85. Now for the men, the second event, the pommel horse. Peter Vidmar from the United States, who loves performing on the horse, currently in third place after the floor exercise.
This has become Peter's best event. He mounted with loops on the end, right to pommel work, immediate pommel work there. Back more, broke into the flare. Now pressing through to a handstand. Little hesitation there, which will cost him a 10th. Reverse scissor, two front scissors now. Front scissor with a half. Really become a good event for Peter. He's got good stretch, works really high above the pommels. Now preparing for his dismount to loop with a half. Beautiful routine.
Certainly no major breaks, and it should score relatively high for Peter Vidmar of UCLA.
Okay, here's the flare again. He gets a little hesitation here, but it's really difficult to press through the handstand. There's that hesitation. Now he lowers down, changes his grip, and lowers down. And completes his scissors.
And for Vidmar, who scored a 9.75 in the floor exercise, a 9.70 here on the pommel horse. Joe Lehman had a very good floor exercise. His score there was 9.80, currently in second place, ready for the pommel horse.
Watch this routine. Talk about difficulty. He travels back and forth across the horse, mounting with loops there, travels up to the pommel, does back more, immediate more in between the horse. Ooh, a little break there. Another back more downhill and a back more uphill. Just break into his flare. Nice flexibility. Gotten a little back on that. Caused him a 10th there. Good scissors. Now picking up for his dismount. There's a more. Back more down. Loop, loop, loop. Little tired. Getting a couple scrapes. Loop with a half there.
An aggressive routine with some minor breaks. He scored a 9.50 in the preliminary competition as we await his score.
Okay, here's his mount again. He mounts with nice extended loops, travels up to the pommel. Now he'll get a little brush here. He'll lower his feet on his moor. There's a moor in between the pommels there on the horse. Again, you're lower. There's the scrape and cause him a 10th deduction.
And there were enough of those little minor problems for Joe Lehman to take off 4/10 from what would have been a perfect score. Perfect score, of course, in gymnastics is a 10 and a 9.60 for Joe Lehman of China. Mounting the pommel horse is the leader after one event, Alexander Pogorelov, who scored a 9.85 on the floor exercise.
Very strong pommel horse performer. He's got a real strong upper body. There he does some immediate work on the pommels. Back more, immediate back more. Carry into the middle. Look at his form and look at those flares. Nice extension. Nice flexibility. Gets good high scissors. No apparent deduction so far. Breaks again into the flare. Ooh, a little break there, but an extremely difficult dismount. Get a flare out to a stockman.
Well, some obvious deductions there, but still he should be right in the thick of things after the second of 6 events.
Let's look again at that flare. He breaks right here into the flare. Now he does a Stockley out on one arm, bends that knee there, which will cost him a couple of tenths, and then he gets a little over in his handstand. Broke form in his handstand.
And that is exactly what it cost him, a couple of tenths, a score of 9.80 for Pogorelov, and a 2-event total of 19.65 for the young Soviet. Final competitor on the pommel horse is Bart Connor. He scored a 9.70 on the Florex. He needed a 9.95, a near-perfect mark here to tie Pogorelov for the overall lead after 2 events.
Well, this has always been a strong event for Bart. He mounted with a back more uphill, back more downhill, front end to a more out. There's a care in. Kind of a basic, simple routine for Bart. There he kicked close to a handstand. There's his scissors. There's a scissor with a half. Picking up now for his dismount. There's a Bailey down to the end, loop around, and a loop with a half off. Rather conservative routine, but it was very clean.
He's trying to stay close right now. Pogorelov with 2 outstanding events thus far, and Bart trying to stay in the hunt.
Well, that was a very important event for him because at this point, you know, you just want to hit and be consistent.
2-time American Cup champion, won this event in 1976 and won it last year. For Bart Connor on the pommel horse, a 9.80. And thus, after 2 of the 6 men's events, it's still Pogorelov leading with a 19.65 total. Bart Connor is second, and Peter Vidmar, the other American in the finals, is currently third. The Americans, Talavera and McNamara, rank 1-2 as we go now to the balance beam. Tracy Talavera thinking about her mount, perhaps in light of what happened to her yesterday in the preliminary competition.
And now this was a very new mount for Tracy, difficult one, very easy to miss because she has to run, make sure she's straight on the back handspring right there. She looked as if she was right on. Second back handspring looked okay, but she could have been slightly off. And then on the layout, she not only bent her knees, but she also leaned, which caused her a 5/10 of a point deduction. It's going to be interesting to see if she does this mount the same way today.
Tracy Talavera, who was the bronze medalist in the balance beam at Moscow, mounting here.
Al, she chickened out of her mount. Possibly she decided to take it out because this routine is so critical. She wants to stay in first place. She does have a brand new mount. A round off backhand, 2 back handsprings into a layout. She's playing a little conservative here, but you can't blame her. A lot of pressure right now.
She scored a 9.7 on the vault, 9.8 on even bars, the leader with a total of 19.50.
Tracy's been real impressive on the balance beam in the last few international competitions. Really consistent. Doing quite well now. And you can tell the crowd is really on her side. That's called the Talavera flare. It used to be called the Thomas flare, but I guess now it's the Talavera. So
Times have changed, haven't they?
Right. Gainer back layout. And she is cooking.
Minimum 70-second routine, maximum 90 seconds.
The nice thing to see about our American women is that they are becoming more consistent on this apparatus, and even under the most pressure, they're able to maintain. 2 back handsprings to a double, a full twist. Nice exercise. She has to be happy about that.
Very strong performance by 15-year-old Tracy Talavera from Walnut Creek, California.
And even though Tracy was conservative on her mount and didn't throw the 2 back handsprings into the layout after the mount, she still had all the difficulty requirements in a routine that she needed. Now she just improvised a little bit here and added a few dance steps.
Hard to believe when she won the American Cup titles 2 years ago. She was just 13 years old, seeking the title again here today. And the score coming up is a 9.70. Crowd is booing. They thought it was a better performance than that. Nonetheless, she is still very, very much in the thick of things at the moment. Coming up next will be Julianne McNamara of the United States. And earlier we talked to Julianne about her thoughts on the balance beam.
Well, mainly I just think of, like, how I perform, like, in practice, how I do it in workout. But mainly you just have to think of keeping your your shoulders and your hips in line and square over the beam. And you don't really think of yourself being up, in 4 inches and 4 feet off the ground because you're so used to doing it. You go through so many routines during workout.
McNamara right now just concentrating on the task at hand, staying close to Talavera.
And this concentration and control comes in right here. You can see right there her shoulders, hips, and feet are all in line with that balance beam, directly over. There's a stag leap. Concentrating once again. There you can see her shoulders and hips have to stay right in line.
I wonder if she's thinking at all of what happened at the World Championships in Moscow. Remember, she was 1 second over the time limit. That cost her any chance for a medal in Moscow after she was the leader in this event going into the finals.
Al, you try to keep the same pace all the time, and sometimes during competition you tend to hurry a little bit, depending on how nervous you are, or sometimes be too conservative and slow down. But right now she's moving very well. She doesn't seem to be holding back at all. And no big bobbles so far. There's a press to a handstand. Now watch this, the back hip circle after a plunge. Get control.
There's a window on the balance beam. Your minimum routine is 70 seconds, maximum 90 seconds. In Moscow, 91, and it cost her.
Straddle jump, very difficult move, a little bobble there. Shoulders were over the beam slightly. And now she'll concentrate on the back pike. Solid as a rock there. She can relax a little bit now, but not too much. She has a dismount coming up. Cartwheel, full twist.
A solid, steady performance for Julianne McNamara.
And Al, it's such a feeling of relief after you've done a good performance on this apparatus.
Now she awaits the score, and it is a 9.65. So she still trails Tracy Talavera. And the crowd didn't like that score either. Thought it should have been higher. Gina Stallone coming up next. Now, Gina Stallone, who made her way into the finals when that computational error regarding Tracy Talavera was discovered yesterday, mounting the beam.
Let's see if she can make it here. Right on. Very nice. These American women are really moving well. Good routines. I think some of the best I've seen in a long time, consistent.
So here's a lady just before bedtime last night who thought she was finished. Her competitive days, at least in this event, were numbered.
Boy, she is just being so consistent in this entire competition. Back handspring to a back tuck. She's moving freely. She doesn't seem to be tight at all. Very nice dance moves. Stretches everything. The nice thing is that I think that the Americans, this event gave them trouble in the past, and they're all doing so well.
Interestingly, Gina in here not only because of an aberration in the scoring yesterday, but also the fact Kathy Johnson, who was named to compete here, was sick, and Gina replaced Kathy.
And a terrific replacement. Front flip, no bobble so far. She can hold on till her dismount and end it well. She should receive an excellent score. Double back, little step in the end. 3 great routines from the American women. This is incredibly difficult because not only are you running and trying to hit a 4-inch piece of apparatus, but you've got to get enough height.
Gina Stallone with a 9.75 on the beam. So the Americans, Talavera a 9.7, McNamara a 9.65, and Stallone tops them all with a 9.75. Next on the beam, Zoya Grancharova of Bulgaria.
Starts out with a straddle press mount. She has to make sure her shoulders and hips are in line. Now watch this. She does a planche. Very difficult. Lots of strength involved. Opens up. Nice mount.
Grancharova in 3rd place coming into this event.
She has a lot of grace and flexibility. And good difficulty, except her knees are bent, and the judges are going to take off a little bit for that. This lady has really come a long way in this competition, and maybe somebody to look forward to in the Olympics in '84. Bulgaria has come a long way. Good in the handstand. There's the move Olga Korbut invented. I think this is some of the best balance beam work I've seen in a long time from all the competitors. There's been a few misses, but not very many. A little low on that leap. A few bobbles on the full turn there. That is one of the requirements. They must do a full turn in their balance beam routine. Back tuck. Looks a little nervous at this point.
Yep. She will not have any chance now to overtake Talavera after this performance, and will be hard-pressed to stay with McNamara.
You know, those little bobbles...
Thomas and Kathy Rigby, the American Cup Gymnastics competition continuing. The women have completed 3 of their 4 events. Tracy Talavera, the leader. Julianne McNamara is second. Zoya Grancharova is third. But right now, let's turn our attention to the men, where the rings was completed earlier. And in this event, Bart Connor did well enough to take the lead at that point overall.
And Bart really put in a good effort here on the rings. He was very controlled, very strong. And right here, he did a super dismount. He did a layout tuck, first somersault in a layout position, second somersault tucked, and he just nailed it.
He scored 9.8 there, but his lead was short-lived because in the very next event, Alexander Pogorelov of the Soviet Union retook first place with this vault.
And Pogorelov used a handspring pike front. He took a little hop on the landing, but it really turned out to be a great vault for him.
His score of 9.8, so after 4 events, Pogorelov leads. Bart Connor is second. Peter Vidmar is third. 2 events remaining for the men. Bart Connor ready to mount the parallel bars, and he trails Pogorelov by only 5/100ths of a point.
This is his best event. He's a world champion on this event. He just mounted with a peach to a handstand. There's a Stutz to a handstand, and now a Diamondov. On the prize, a pirouette over, all the way to 1 bar, and he does a glide straddle. Now watch this. He'll press from 1 bar straight to an English handstand. Very nice. Stutz to a handstand. Flawless routine thus far. And his double back. 1 little step. Nice routine for Bart.
Bart, the world champion in this event in 1979, but he did have his problems in the 1981 championships in Moscow, turning in a good effort here.
Here's that pirouette over to the glide. Glides on that 1 rail, straddles up, and now he'll press from 1 straddle bar to a handstand.
Bart's score coming up now. It is a 9.80, so he continues to put the pressure on Pogorelov.
And he should be pretty pleased with that performance.
Here is Peter Vidmar, a solid contender for the overall crown. He beat a 9.85 after Connor was awarded a 9.80 to tie Bart.
It's an unusual mount. He jumped to a half turn, did a V press on 1 bar there. There's a Diamondov and a quarter, a little originality there. All the way to 1 bar and a straddle press back up. Well, this guy's really come on in the last couple of years. Solid Stutz hand. There's a back toss to a handstand. Double back somersault. 1 little step. Nice routine for Pete.
So in his penultimate event, Peter Vidmar of the United States, the leader in the preliminary competition, turning in a fine effort.
But let's look at the last part of Peter's routine. He does a back toss to a handstand right here, and then follows it with a double back somersault. Gets good lift off the bars, pulls it around a little too far, and takes 1 little step.
Peter Vidmar of UCLA, his score is a 9.80. So both he and Connor scoring 9.80. He continues to trail Bart by only 5/100ths of a point. And here comes the overall leader, ready to mount the parallel bars, Alexander Pogorelov of the Soviet Union.
Jumps to a straddle cut right into an immediate flange. Just cast support to a swing pirouette. There's a Stutz or a half turn to a handstand. Now there's a peach to a lock arm handstand. Wow. Another Stutz to a handstand. A reverse cut right to an L. Very stylish. See how he lifted his head in the L. Some press. Now his dismount, double tuck. Very clean routine. It's going to be tight.
Well, his next to last event, Pogorelov, here's a fellow who's 20 years old, not one of the big stars for the Soviet Union, a man who finished, in fact, 11th in the Soviet National Championships in '81.
Take another look at his dismount. really gets his chest up nice. He cowboys, which brings his legs apart, but that's no real deduction. And took a little hop to the side.
Score coming up now, it's a 9.75, so we are really set for what should be a most dramatic finish, because after 5 events, we now have a tie. Connor and Pogorelov each tied for the top spot, with Vidmar still hanging right in there. Coming up next, the women's final event, the floor exercise. Now the final women's event, the floor exercise. And to start things off, the leader, Tracy Talavera, if she can score a 9.85 on the floor X, she will clinch the American Cup title she won 2 years ago. Here she goes.
And now she had a lot of trouble yesterday on her opening tumbling run. She did a double pike and did not land it. She fell backwards. So she's very seriously thinking about it right now. Not taking any chances. Here she goes. Let's see if she can do it. Down off flip-flop. Oh, big break there. That'll cost her at least 4/10 to 5/10 of a point.
So there will be no clinch, and the competition will continue. Still, she has to get herself together and score as highly as possible to remain in contention.
And she didn't want to over-rotate that, and I think she just underdid it a little bit. From Somi to round up flip-flop full twist. She has a very interesting routine. A little bit of classical music, some disco music.
And then she'll go back to the disco beat at the end.
Yes. She has to maintain that concentration. Even though there was a big break, she has to finish this routine. Tracy has a little bit of trouble with endurance. So let's see if she can hold on to that double twist in the end. Big breath and really has to punch hard. Good. Very nice. See how much they take off for that opening.
That'll be the whole difference outside of that one break. A very good routine for Tracy Talavera of the United States.
It seems as if she just didn't have quite enough rotation to get all the way around. Moves well here. Good pike position. Tried to not put her hands down, but there was no way.
Tracy now awaiting her mark.
Tracy will probably think a great deal about improving her strength on tumbling. It seems that this is the only weak part of her gymnastics.
And for Talavera, the mark coming up now, it's only a 9.20.
And that seems about right. They took off 5/10 of a point for the fall. Otherwise, she would have received a 9.7, and the judges must have seen some minor breaks in the other part of the routine.
Now, Julianne McNamara, the door wide open because of the 9.20 put up by Talavera. Julianne would need a 9.45 to move into first place here.
And Julianne is very controlled on this event, although she can't relax, and I'm sure she's not. She opens up with a double pike. The same move Tracy had trouble with. Defending American Cup champion may be there once again.
Very possibly. You shouldn't find it too difficult to move past Tracy, and then she'll just have to hold off Groncharova yet to come.
You can see she's confident now, even a little smile there. Front flip, round off flip flop, double twist, easily done. Very good technique. It only takes one event to really throw you out. She's flying now.
Scored 9.65 on the floor in the preliminary competition.
And I'm sure her coach back in Eugene, Oregon, Linda Matheny, Malva Hill, and her coach, Dick Malva Hill, who is here, are very pleased at this point for her. And her last tumbling run. Round off flip-flop, another double twist. Very nice. She almost went out there, but she knows where she is on that mat. She's going to do it. Very nice.
After a slow start today in the first event, the vault, Julianne has been very sharp in the ensuing 3.
Endurance here is so important, and Julianne has all she needs to end with this double full. Right there. Great execution.
Her score, 9.65, and for the first time today, she moves in front of Calavera. Grancharova of Bulgaria, who would need a 9.95 in this routine to win the overall title. A 9.9 would tie her with McNamara for the top spot. Gina Stallone has already completed her routine. She stepped out of bounds. Her score was only a 9.50, and consequently, she's out of the running.
And that impressive tumbling run was a front flip, step out, round off, flip flop, double back. Her routine is interesting because not only is her composition very good, but she's so dramatic in her movements. Something that we haven't seen in women's gymnastics on the floor exercise in a while. It used to be everybody was so straight-faced and no personality at all. But Zoya really shows it here.
This is her best event. She took the bronze medal at the World Championships in the floor exercise in November.
You can see why. Her dance is equal to her tumbling as far as difficulty goes. And getting ready now for her last tumbling run. It's a double back once again from a round-off flip-flop. Good height. What an impressive gymnast. You can see why she's third in the world in this event.
Well, that was an outstanding routine. And I can imagine at this point, Julianne McNamara is quite anxious to see what Zoya comes up with here. Remember, a 9.90 would tie Zoya for the lead. A 9.95 would give her the title outright.
And speed is so important on this ending. She gets a good back handspring high in the air, makes for a perfect landing.
Grancharova's score coming up. It is a 9.90. And so we have a tie for the women's championship as Julianne McNamara of the United States and Zoya Grancharova of Bulgaria each wind up with a total of 38.65. Tracy Talavera of the United States finishes third. Tang Shou Li of China fourth. And Gina Stallone of the U.S. comes in fifth. So the women's competition is over. And right now, once again, we turn our attention to the men. One event remaining, the high bar. And we'll begin with Shinji Murasoi of Japan in fifth place at this point.
And now he'll put in a real strong routine. He mounts with a stem to a handstand. And watch this. Pirouettes over to a one-arm giant. Pulls the other arm out nice with a little flare there. And now right into a reverse tap. Now hop. And now another release move. A straddle Baronin. Looking really good so far. Now he'll stoop into inverted giants. Got his back to the bar. Hop pirouette here. Now watch this dismount. Very original. It's a triple twist. Just 1, 2, 3. And nails it. Beautiful routine.
Listen to the response from the crowd at Madison Square Garden in New York. You just have to love watching the Japanese gymnasts on the high bar. They simply manhandle the apparatus.
Well, they're very stylish, and, you know, their technique is superb. They take everything to the maximum.
A very crowd-pleasing routine by Murasoi. There's his score. Very close to perfection, a 9.90.
And I'm sure he's pretty excited about that routine. But, you know, he was not in contention for the all-around. Now the drama begins because the next three men all have a chance to win the all-around title. And at this point, it really comes down to who turns in the best performance on the high bar.
Here is Alexander Pogorelov tied with Bart Connor for the lead.
And now I'll be curious to see if he throws all of his difficulty. He has an extremely difficult move coming up here. It's a 1.5 twisting Ginger. Yes, he throws it. A little form break, but yesterday he fell off on that. Got a 2/10 deduction, but he's cruising now. Dislocate. Inverted giants. One-arm giant. Comes his dismount, a triple back somersault. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's going to cost him the competition.
Unless the same fate befalls Bart Connor and Peter Vidmar. Up to that point, a brilliant routine, a very tough break for Pogorelov.
Here's another look at that dismount. It's a triple back somersault, and he takes it out nice and high. There's 1, 2, 3, and just pulls it under a little too much. That's about a 4 to 5/10 deduction.
And his score, simply a 9.40. So we'll have Connor and Vidmar fighting it out next.
motorcraft grip.
Title, and Pogorelov has left the door wide open for him.
There's the American girls looking on at this last event.
Well, it boils down to probably a battle now between Bart Conner and Peter Vidmar with the 9.4 put up by Pogorelov. Here's Bart, his final routine of the day.
And that's a good battle because they're both really tough on this event. Bart just did a one-arm giant. Now a pirouette to another one-arm giant. Now here's the move that gave him a little trouble yesterday, the Ginger. Nicely done today. There's a kip. All he's got left is his dismount and his inverts. So he's home free.
Needs only a 9.45 to close out Pogorelov.
Here's his dismount now. He does a full in, back out. Full in, back out. No problem, Bart.
Very smooth and very solid for the man who won the first American Cup ever back in 1976 and then took the title last year in 1981.
And he's excited about that performance.
The American women's contingent applauding Conner.
Well, here's that dismount again, and I'm sure at this point he's just thinking, Bart, land on your feet. Does a giant, and then he does a full in, back out. Nice form in the air. Do a super landing, one little step, and look at the smile on his face.
Bart Conner on the horizontal bar.
We're coming up now for Bart Conner. There it is, a 9.90 and a total of 58.70. So Bart Conner was nearly a lock on it. The only man who could wrest the title from him would be Peter Vidmar. He would be the final competitor on the high bar. Vidmar would need a 9.95 to tie Bart Conner for the championship. A perfect 10, and he'd be the outright winner. Here he is.
Well, the pressure's really on. Peter's got a nice routine, but I don't know about 9.95. There's a cow hop to a stalder. Now he does a heck vault in straddle position. Nicely done. Now he'll stoop into his inverted giants, which are a requirement on high bar. You need a dorsal grip. Now he does a flip right out of it, front somersault. Full catch, great routine going so far. All he needs is this stuck dismount. There's a stalder, and he does a pike tap in, half out. But he needs to nail it. One hop back.
Peter Vidmar.